It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. Next up on the show, Ali Wong. We talked in 2016. When Ali Wong walked out on stage to start her first hour-long special, it's kind of amazing. In real life, Ali is pretty tiny. And usually she feels a lot bigger on stage because she's so bold. But in that special, which is called Baby Cobra, she is literally much bigger because at the time she was 7.5 months pregnant. It was basically a smash hit, got great reviews, not because she's doing something so physically grueling that, frankly, I don't think I could ever do it in a million years, but because the special is unique and energetic and subversive and hilarious. She's gone on to act in a bunch of movies. You can hear her in the new Disney movie Ralph Breaks the Internet. Just a few months ago, she released a new special on Netflix. It's called Hard Knock Wife. It's also great. She did the entire special pregnant again. I don't know how she does this stuff. It's genuinely amazing. Anyway, Ali was born and raised in San Francisco. Her dad was Chinese American. Her mother is Vietnamese American. Her husband is half Filipino, half Japanese. Ali has a degree in Asian American studies that gets put to good use in her act, like in this clip from Baby Cobra. Here she is talking about the benefits of having 4 distinct Asian American ethnicities in action in one house.
But I think that for marriage, it can be nice to be with somebody of your own race. The advantage is that you get to go home and be racist together. You get to say whatever you like. You don't gotta explain. My husband, half Filipino, half Japanese. I'm half Chinese and half Vietnamese. And we spend 100% of our time on Korean people. It's amazing. It's what love is built on, you know? My last boyfriend was Cuban, and his family would on Mexican people all the time. And I was like, hold up. You guys aren't Mexican?
Ali Wong, it's great to have you on Bullseye. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much. It's so surreal to listen to that clip. I haven't watched Baby Cobra since November, since I went to editing for it.
Well, you've been busy.
I've been busy, yeah.
So I guess the first question is, what was the relationship between the plan to make this special, which is the biggest deal in your career? It's the first hour-long special. It's the huge break for every stand-up. Yeah. And the fact that you were having this huge thing in your personal life, having your first child.
You know, people had been talking to me about doing a special for a long time. And I was like, no, I want to wait. I want to wait. And you can wait forever because you can be like, it can be better. And you know, working on jokes is endless. I kind of, before the special, I felt like all of these jokes were never really done. And then the first time I got pregnant, which was 2 years ago, I was like, oh my God, I had all this anxiety about it ending my career. And then I was like, I should just do the special now. But then I had a miscarriage. And then I was like, I'm depressed. I'm not in the mood to do a special. And then I got pregnant again. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Because if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. So it was more like, it was a very conscious decision to do it, but it was more a personal decision because I wanted to believe that like a baby would not be the end of my career. And I wanted to associate it with the beginning of something big and new.
Was that because you felt like other comics, especially women comics, had their career paths altered by having kids?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's definitely other female comics who are moms who are awesome, but it's tough. Even now with having my daughter, I'm exhausted, you know, and it's tough to motivate yourself to get up and go out and do a crappy set where you get no money. You get paid in literally like a slice of pepperoni pizza, but that stage time is so valuable and you need it to grow and to do new material. But it's hard to motivate myself to get up and down. I can't go on the road for she's 6 months old now. I can't go on the road until probably November when she stops breastfeeding. And even then, the idea of spending 3 nights away from her is pretty tough. I think because it's really the breastfeeding that makes it difficult to get out, because it's your body's still involved. I mean, I didn't really completely understand that, but it's like for 9 months, your body you're the host, right? And then after that, for a year, your body's the kitchen for the baby. It's her refrigerator. And stand-up just involves your body. You have to take your body out, drive 30 minutes to Hollywood from Culver City and perform for 10 minutes, take your body back in the car. And yeah, because of that, it's difficult, I think, for a lot of female stand-ups who are moms.
There's also for a lot of people, this is something I saw when my wife had a kid, is that beyond the logistical challenges of, feeding a baby when you're breastfeeding, there's also a really deep and complex set of emotional and chemical and hormonal things going on.
Yeah.
That, like, you think, you kind of make this plan, like, I can handle the logistics. I'll pump it this time. I'll do this. I'll freeze this. I'll do this. And then I'll have these days to go do something or whatever.
Right.
But the chemical stuff really gets in the way of those plans, because it's the most important thing in the world.
Yeah. Well, also the other thing is that, when she was first born and she was, I was so focused on feeding her correctly, and I was having a lot of trouble breastfeeding. And then I felt like all I was doing is focusing on feeding her. And then I would see my husband got to hold her and play with her and like lift up her arms and read her books. And then when I wasn't feeding her, I just wanted to take a shower, wipe my feet, eat a Slim Jim or something. And it was like I had no time to really get to know her other than feeding her. And I was like and it's like there's a term for it called grazing, where the baby, all they do is just eat with you. And they just associate you with food, and that's it. And so I was like, when am I going to bond with her? Like actually like talk to her and stuff, instead of just focusing on angling her head to get her to latch on at the right angle and keep wiping her face with all the milk and getting frustrated from the feeding. So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of time, and it's great. But I think for a lot of women, whether they're stand-ups or not, just you take that break and you're bonding with your child and you're feeding your child, and then it's really hard to get pulled apart. And imagine spending like a whole day without your baby, because you just don't know what that's like, and it's scary. Like now, I just think about that part in Blackfish where they separate the mama whale from the baby whale, and I start crying. Because I'm like, it's hormotions,
That's hormone emotions.
Yeah. So, but luckily, we've gotten her to go down at 8 p.m., so I've still been able to go out at night and do sets.
It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. My guest is the comedian Ali Wong. Her latest special is called Hard Knock Wife. It's out now on Netflix. Your special, despite the fact that you are super pregnant, you're not doing material about being super pregnant at all. Almost.
No,
I mean,
because
you do a quick second joke when you walk on stage that you almost have to do something to acknowledge it.
Right.
But that's it. Just one line joke, and then you're into your other material.
Yeah, because it's the first thing that I've ever put out that's my own. And I've been doing stand-up for like 11 years. So some of those jokes, like the skater joke about how, don't date skaters unless you want to wake up on a mattress in a kitchen. That joke is so old. I haven't a skater in like 9 years, And so it's like, that joke is so old. And that joke about, some useful advice for my Asian American brothers and sisters: never go paintballing with a Vietnam veteran. That's like, I wrote that when I was like in high school, and I went paintballing, and my, friend's dad like went to town on me I I don't know what reason, but I know that he served, and it freaked me out. And my parents were like, that must be why. And so some of those jokes are so old. And
Your parents, the voices of experience.
yes.
Like, we know a little something about being Asian Americans, sweetheart.
And so, like, you know, so that special is like, it's not just like 1 month of material that I built up. It's a carefully curated set of jokes from like ever since I started doing stand-up, basically. And being pregnant is a very small part of all of that.
I want to play a clip from the special. And one of the things that a lot of the material is about, basically how you got to where you are, how you got from, being a 23-year-old that just graduated college when you started doing stand-up to being an adult married mom. And so this is you early on in the special talking about why you pack your husband's lunch.
I don't feed him out of the goodness of my heart. I do it as an investment in my financial future. Because I don't want to work anymore. I've been reading that book by Sheryl Sandberg. She's the COO of Facebook. And she wrote that book that got women all riled up about our careers, talking about how we as women should challenge ourselves to sit at the table and rise to the top. And her book is called Lean In. Well, I don't want to lean in, okay? I want to lie down. I want you to lie the down. I think feminism is the worst thing that ever happened to women. Our job used to be no job. We had it so good. We could have done the smart thing, which would have been to continue playing dumb for the next century and be like, we're dumb women. We don't know how to do anything. So I guess we better just stay at home all day and eat snacks and watch Ellen.
So, Ali, as you're doing that joke, you are super pregnant and working.
Right.
Telling that joke is you working.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of material around those themes, especially early in the special.
Yeah.
Tell me about where that material comes from and sort of what your perspective is on it.
Well, I mean, so I obviously love stand-up, and I have been doing it pretty much nonstop. Besides my honeymoon and after I had a C-section, those are the two big breaks I took from stand-up. But other than that, I've been performing pretty much every other night. It's very rare for me to go like 3 nights in a row without performing stand-up. So I obviously love it very much. But there's all sorts of other stuff I have to do besides stand-up. Like I write and for a TV show, and then I also sometimes do punch-up on movies. And it's like, it's exhausting. Like that stuff, I like it, I don't love it. And I'm exhausted. And like after, like I do that and I'm tired and I see these women who seemingly seem to be just chilling, hanging out all day. The hardest decision they have to make every day is, what juice am I going to drink? What juice has the most compelling story? What vegetables have the most interesting origin tales? And they're just sitting at, like at Whole Foods, like inspecting all these juices and reading. And I'm like, I am so jealous that this appears to me to be your life. And I'm sure it's not, because now after being a mom and like staying home with her by myself for a very short period of time, I'm like, this is scary. I want to go back to work. This is no picnic either, but just the idea of like, there are women I believe out there who are just chilling. And I'm like, what am I doing? I made all the wrong decisions.
It's like you're telling me that you believe in a griffin or something like that.
Totally.
Or like, ghosts are real.
Yeah.
There are women who are chilling. I can see it in their eyes. But it feels like when you're talking about that, I mean, what it really feels like is what you're talking about is, as badly as you might want that sometimes, you are obviously so deeply committed to your work and your career and expressing yourself, being who you are. That's just self-evident in what you're doing on stage, that it feels like in some ways what you're really talking about is the fact that actually isn't a real thing that exists. And in fact, that, especially when you are, when you're in a sexist society, which fundamentally, structurally, we're in to some extent, there is this contradiction, which is, yes, you can follow your dreams, but you also still have to do all of the other stuff that the generations before you went. Like, men do a little more chores now.
Right.
But, you look at the studies, it's like men have gone from doing 10% of the chores to 20% of the chores. And granted, that's doubling.
Yeah.
I'm making up these numbers, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That feels right.
That really, like, what you're
but
talking
in terms
about
of like
is this...
work, women are expected to contribute like 50%.
Right.
I'm like deep in the trenches of that right now with that whole expectation to breastfeed and to like keep the household nice, but then also to work and to contribute just as much as the man, if not more. And so, yeah, I think it's about that. But I mean, those feelings that I expressed are real, of being jealous of this idea of not working anymore. It's really the financial responsibility. Like, there's high stakes if I don't work. I really don't like that.
Yeah, that
Sincerely.
does stink. Yeah.
It stinks.
That's really a scary thing.
Like, it would be awesome if
life.
stand-up was like totally a passion and a hobby. I mean, I would be pretty happy going out and doing sets every night for pizza. I would be pretty happy about that, but yeah, I mean, I got to do other stuff because I can't just do that,
Ali, let's play a clip from your special Baby Cobra, and my guest is the comedian Ali Wong, where you're talking about your mom. Your mom's a lot older. You have 3 siblings, but the youngest of them is 10 years older than you.
Yeah, I was an accident. So my mom had me when she was like 45.
And this is you talking about trying to declutter your mom's house.
The last time I was at home in San Francisco, I was trying to help her get rid of Don't ever do that with your mom. It was like the worst experience of my life. It was so emotional. We were screaming and fighting and yelling, and it all came to a climax when she refused to let go of a Texas Instruments TI-82 manual. The Manuel. She don't even know where the calculator is. Those of you under 25 probably don't know what that calculator is. It was this calculator that bamboozled my generation. We were all required to buy it when we were in 8th grade. It cost like $200. And everybody thought it was like this Judy Jetson's laptop from the future. All because what? It could graph.
You really left out some of the key features of the TI-82 calculator.
Yeah, you could type in stuff.
Yeah, you could save the answers in it. That's number one. You could put your answers into the TI-82. I mean, not the answers necessarily, unless you had access to the test.
And it took forever, and there was no autocorrect or anything.
You could play video games on it, though.
You could play video games?
Like terrible text-based video games.
Yeah, terrible.
Drug Wars. You could play. You had to give it to your nerdiest friend.
Yeah.
Because they were the only one who knew how to get the games inside of it. But the 2 main things you could do was hide the formulas, like the quadratic equation. If you didn't want to memorize it, you could hide that in your graphing calculator. And then the other thing was, not that I would ever do such a thing, and children who are listening should not do that. They should study hard and don't do drugs. But you could hide the answers in there, and then you could play Drug Wars and Centipede on it.
But to do all of that was so laborious.
You need the manual,
You need
for one thing.
It would take like an hour to enter in a quadratic formula to cheat. It was like, it was so much effort to cheat with that calculator. I mean, it was like, and that fight is real. Like my mom and I remember, I know I was crying. I'm not sure if she was crying, but there was yelling. And we were like tug of war, like yanking that book between us because I was like, Mom, like I want you to be able to let go of this, like mentally. But she, and I think it's funny because a lot of people seem to resonate with that, especially like immigrant kids, because their parents came with nothing. And you would think that because they came with nothing, they're like, I don't need nothing. But really, they're like, I need to keep everything because I can now. And that whole idea of like, I never know when I might need it because they don't want to buy it again because they're cheap.
Well, I mean, they're scared.
They're scared. Yeah. But, it's just like a big generational discrepancy because now I'm of the generation where it's all about like decluttering and we have too much. And so, and there's a lot of like tension between me and my mom because of that.
The other thing that your special is about, I think, is having this idea in your head that you have to trick someone into liking you and maybe supporting you and then falling in love actually. Mm-hmm. And like realizing that as much as you might plan to these tricks,
right,
these ideas, these schemes, as much as you might come up with schemes while you're sitting around the house, maybe actually you love your husband and he loves you and the other parts maybe also aren't even going to work out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that is basically what happened. And I mean, even with my husband, I was like totally initially attracted to all of this superficial stuff. Like he was, the first things I learned about him was that he graduated from Harvard and he was really good looking. And then like the reality is when we first went out on our first date, he like didn't even pay. He actually borrowed money from me. And I was like, what is up with this dude? And he was
Did he borrow money from you above and beyond the bill? Like, was he like, could you pay for the pizza and can you hit me with $20?
No.
Let me hold $20 real quick.
He was just like, it was cash only. And he was like, oh, I don't have cash. And I was like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. And he chose the place too. And it was a horrible place.
It was your own fault for dating a guy that handsome.
Yes, totally. And then it was like, he was a vegan. And at the time I was like a super carnivore. But then I just kept on going out with him. It's true. Like I really did just, all that other stuff that I cared about fell to the wayside. And yeah, I fell in love with the guy and he's great.
I want to ask you about something that you talk about in the special that you don't hear a lot of people talk about, much less do jokes about, which is that you had a miscarriage.
Yeah.
How did you decide whether or not to talk about that publicly and whether or not to talk about that on stage?
Well, I think I wouldn't have talked about it publicly if I hadn't have told so many people that I was pregnant right when I got pregnant. I was so excited that I was pregnant and I couldn't have imagined anything going wrong. But I told everybody, like as soon as it got positive, I told everybody. And then when I had the miscarriage, I had to tell everybody the bad news, which actually turned out to be a good thing because, when I told everybody the bad news, all these women came to me and told me they confessed that they too had had a miscarriage. And I didn't know how common it was. The fact that so many other women have had a miscarriage and told me, it did make me feel a lot better because I felt less alone and I felt like I wasn't this infertile freak and it wasn't my fault for having one. Because having a miscarriage, it is so dark and it is so personal because it happens in your body. And, there was a lot of humor in it. I mean, after that I found and that I ended up, sharing on stage that other people could seem to find funny too. So I thought, why not put it in there? It was the one joke that didn't always 100% of the time when I traveled with it work super duper well, but I did feel really passionate about including it because I thought it was funny, and also because I thought it was important for other women to know that I had one, and that getting pregnant is not always this like easy journey, especially when you're in your mid-30s, and that if they're having like a rocky time too, that they're not alone.
I went to my wife and I went to the doctor. We have 2 kids and have had 2 miscarriages, and the most recent one, we went to the doctor and she, confirmed that it was a miscarriage and everything, and she's super nice. It was not our regular doctor, which was a bummer, but she was super nice. And, one of the things she said to us was, look, you've had 4 pregnancies and 2 kids, and that is 100% in the normal range and absolutely nothing to be worried about.
Right.
Like to have, I can't remember what exactly the number was, 20 to 40% or something like that.
Yeah.
Of pregnancies are miscarried, and it's just part of the way that your body makes sure that the pregnancy is working. But at the same time, you're still both going through, especially for the mother, you're going through a real, a difficult physical process, and and I think both parents are dealing with the fact that you are, you have a lot of emotional investment in making a baby.
Right.
And then to have it change direction so sharply
Yeah.
is just really hard to adjust to.
Yeah, and just also, I mean, I was told by my OB too, that it was very common. And it's one thing to be told that it's very common and to be told the statistic. It's another thing to put like a face that to the category that you are now a part of. And for like, even now you telling me, like, I feel like a bond, and I feel also like so much compassion, and I also feel still like less alone just by you telling me now that you guys have had 2, but that also you have 2 kids. And it gives me, like, it makes me feel better, and it gives me hope too. And I mean, even now with every time I want to have more kids. I have 1 now, and I want to have like at least 2 more.
What's the ceiling on this? 10?
Yeah. The ceiling is maybe like 5.
They're cheaper by the dozen, as I understand it.
Well, I would love to have like a dozen.
Steve Martin taught us that.
But like with every pregnancy, now there's gonna be that worry that like, is this gonna take? And there's still also gonna be that envy, which I think is natural, of other women who have never had a miscarriage, who have it so seemingly easy. And that's all normal, and that it's okay to feel envy, that it's okay to feel scared and to not feel like attached when you find out that you're pregnant. I mean, all those things. And I wish women would talk about it more, so that it would, even though it is normal, that it would feel more normal.
I found comfort the second time around in the idea that it's the body protecting itself and protecting you and protecting the pregnancy, that it is saying, this one's not going to work. I better take care of this and we'll try again.
Right. I mean, I take so much comfort in that too, but then you get people saying to you, did your doctor tell you maybe why you had the miscarriage, or is there anything you could have done so that it would have stayed? And I went to an acupuncturist shortly after, and I told them that I had a miscarriage, and I went to the Santa Monica School of Acupuncture, which was my mistake. And it was like, that's when, they have like, what you really want when you go to get acupuncture is like a caricature of a Chinese man giving you acupuncture. But really, I got this like, I think she was white, and she was like 21 years old, and was just trying to figure out, should I do P-score or should I do acupuncture, and decided to go with acupuncture, and told me that she had all these like hippie philosophies about how I should go out and close my eyes and spend time in the sun so that next time when I get pregnant, the baby will want to stay. And I was like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, the worst bedside manner in the world. But in that, she was like placing blame on me. And I think some people, when they ask you what was the cause of the miscarriage, in that question, they don't know it, but that they are sort of placing some blame on the woman. And it's really intense. So, like I said, just knowing that so many other women have it that I know have had it help me understand that it was not my fault.
There's this expectation that that the reply to that question is going to be like, well, I can't put my finger on it. I was driving cross country on my hog.
Yeah.
and I was getting in all these bar fights.
Right. Totally. Like, well, I think it was this piece of sushi that I ate on December 5th. I think it was because I sniffed whiskey. I think it's because, I went running. It's like, no, none of it is your fault,
Ali, I so appreciate you taking the time to be on Bullseye. It was so fun to get to talk to you.
Oh, so fun to talk to you too.
And it's always great to see you. Ali Wong, folks. If you haven't heard any of her stand-up, please go check her out. Baby Cobra and Hard Knock Wife are both tremendous. She's also a regular on the ABC sitcom American Housewife.